pleasure to introduce this afternoon's keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker is Mr. Harry Spike Moss. Mr. Moss has been the director of the City Inc. at Bridge Services since the year of 1986. ARYS is a community-wide program which reaches out into the high-risk and gang-involved youth and their families by developing caring and understanding relationships together, linking them to educational, social, and spiritual services relevant to the problems that they face in today's society. Mr. Moss is a member of the City Inc. management and a founding member of the United States United for Peace organization, created by ARYS and several major gangs in the Twin Cities. United for Peace is dedicated to finding employment opportunities and education and economic development for inner city youth. Mr. Moss is formerly the co-chair of the National Peace and Justice Movement, which is responsible for peace summits across the nation, bringing an organization that we call Gangs for Peace Educational Needs. See, that was all wrong. I just read it all wrong. Okay, let me start over. So we call Gangs for Peace Educational Needs, Employment Needs, and Economic Development. It is now based in 27 states and 63 cities and is rapidly growing. From 1966 to 1980, Mr. Moss is the executive director of The Way, a community organization on the near side that serves its African-American constituencies with several innovative outreach and recreational programs. In addition to his work at the city, Mr. Moss is involved in leadership with several state organizations. He is a member of the Minnesota Council on Black Minnesotans, serves on the Black on Black Crime Task Force, sponsor of the Black Women United Culture and Development Group at Shakopee Prison and St. Cloud Correctional Facility. Consultant for Hennepin County, does a lot, y'all. Consultant for Hennepin County's Youth Drug Task Force, consults for the Mayor's Young Task Force in Minneapolis, Mayor of St. Paul's research gang activities in the city, consultant for the Leo Johnson the Leo Johnson Drum Corps, member of the State Prison Task Force for Minority Prisons, a member of the steering committee for a march, Men Are Responsible for Cultivating Hope, and a member of Black Leadership Summit. Mr. Moss was the key organizer for Minnesota's Million Man March participants and a host of KMOJ's radio show, Voices from the African Americans. He is recognized in the Book of Our Common Grounds. Mr. Moss has been the keynote of the following workshops and conferences: Black Family Conference, Quad Cities, Black and Criminal Justice, National Inter-Conference of Human Rights, Black Hills Nuclear Arms, National American Social Workers Youth Issues, Minnesota State Region of Workers, which is a 5-state area, National Conference on Corrections, National Conference for Black Publishers, and on the panel at the Conference for Black Doctors. He has been a key speaker on civil rights and spoken in several Black history programs. He has spoken at gang summits held in Kansas City, Cleveland, Minneapolis, and Toledo. He also lectures at several high schools, colleges, and universities and civic organizations, and has been doing this for 30 years. Please help me welcome Mr. Harry Spike Moss.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm going to change a little bit from the schedule because of what happened last night. And then I'm going to try to get into some of what I was asked to do. But let me first say to my black family, you are my black family, I am you, you are me. I want to apologize because it had to happen in front of you, but not apologize for the action. I'm sorry because I wish it wouldn't have happened there, but it pained me because the woman was talking about something she read about, and it was something I lived. So I was highly insulted. First of all, for you young people that were there, please raise your hand if you were there last night. Let me say this to you so you can understand some of what really angered me. It took us years of the black community complaining about the preachers don't never do nothing. Preachers don't stand up. Preachers ain't with the community. Preachers don't need the people no more. Well, preachers came together. 65 churches strong. It had never happened. And I can say, because I'm not jealous of no man, they really came together from the hard work of Reverend Jerry McAfee, somewhere in here, and Randy Statton. Jerry, would you stand up, please? The coalition of churches joined with us, Black Leadership Summit. We didn't just come together because Jesse didn't pick one black person out of 22. Each one of those seats represent anywhere between $60,000 to $80,000 a year for the job alone. We understand that. And believe me, after fighting years and years to get you in school, and some of you are too young to remember my fights across the state of Minnesota to get you on the campus. Some of you here weren't here when we went to jail. Some of you weren't here when we went to St. Cloud, when we went to Marshall, Minnesota, when we went over to Augsburg and McAllister and right here at Mankato. When we took the administration building at registration time at the University of Minnesota and held it for 30 days, demanding black students, black faculty, black house, black programs, and did not come out until they rendered it. One of the first black teachers that went in was Brother Mahmoud El-Khadi. So I'm not too far from your struggle. But after we did that, in the hopes that you would have the opportunity to be, to do, to have, we didn't come to 1999 to hear some fool say, now that you got the paper, you ain't qualified. We didn't do that. We didn't do that so that the opportunity wouldn't be there for you. We did it so the opportunity would be there for you. I can't find anybody black qualified in the state of Minnesota. And I can't find, that's the other part, I can't find anybody black. And then he said, further insult, I don't see no color. No, you only see all white. So he got 22 white positions. Now let me tell you why that cuts deep. Out of 22 positions, you're talking some 40-some thousand jobs that pay almost the same amount of money. But this is where it hurts. Let's get past the job part, because they always say black people just want a job. They make the decisions of who gets what contract for everything connected in this state, including this school you stand in. And when the contracts go out, that means there'll be no minority vendors, no new minority businesses that will benefit at all because the person's making the decision don't look like you and don't care about you. You couldn't get now a light bulb contract. You couldn't get the toilet paper contract, the soap contract. And I'm telling you, we're talking more than $300 or $400 million a year that will flow through these people's ink pen as they make a decision who gets what, where, and when. And he said, you don't exist. For those of you that's willing to criticize the black leadership, talking about we came late, we organized more than a year ago. Once again, because I'm not jealous of no man, the preachers put together a public forum, invited everybody who was running to bear Jerry McAfee's church. That's true. Over 700 people, all of the candidates. They all signed a contract vowing to deal with what we said were our concerns, Jesse included. And now that he won, he's not going to consider any of our needs. Now, what I said last night, I want to say calmly this morning. It is a sin and a shame to be 2.5% to 3% of this state population and be 40-some% of who's incarcerated in prison. It is a sin and a shame for any of you kids that are having a hard time trying to get your money to stay in school and keep your books, but this state has no problem finding $33,000 to $36,000 a year to incarcerate you in prison. It is a sin and a shame that we can be the 4th richest city in the world, Minneapolis, and be 50% in poverty as black people in the state of Minnesota. In 1997, when the study was done, of the 2 states that treat people of color the worst, it was Mississippi and Minnesota. At the bottom of the study, how can that be in filthy rich Minnesota that you treat us the worst? That you discriminate the most? That you deny us opportunity the most? That in this state, when I was a young man, we had to take the Minneapolis Police Department to the federal court to get the right to be police. In this state, we had to take the Minneapolis Fire Department to court to get the right to be firefighters. And we heard words in court. If we hire them niggas, we'll have to ride with them niggas. If we hire them niggas, we'll have to sleep with them niggas. That's the words they use in court in this state. Oh, my memory ain't left me. Come on. You're looking at the very man who was a young man who marched in Lincoln Junior High School with junior high kids in the fight for black teachers' right to teach in Minneapolis. Thank you, brother. Because they took the position that color didn't matter if you come there to learn. And wouldn't allow black teachers to teach. So we shut Lincoln Junior High School down. We didn't get no North, we didn't get no Franklin till we protest over at the school board and shut it down. And we were all kids and shut it down. In this state, we were no different than Mississippi and Arkansas. We just was great at hiding our dirt so it didn't get to TV. Yeah, we watched them bum rush our kids in Arkansas and Alabama, but you didn't get to see them bum rush our kids at Marshall and Hugh High and all the different schools here when they fucked. But Minnesota kept it off of TV. Matter of fact, a young lady walked up to me last night. She's in this audience, right here in the booth. Stand up. She walked up to me last night. What was your school?
Junior High in Northeast Indiana.
And what did you say to me last night?
I said I'd like to publicly thank you for coming to our rescue when they tried to take over the school and riots. And we were the only students in the school. We were like whatever we could, and we didn't have any protection. And we came over on an orange bus and took us home.
That's right. I don't know if you think that's much, but I'm not to me. For anybody black to say thank you. When they try to kill our babies for an education in liberal Minnesota. This state with over, they said 50 now, 60% our replacement with our children. And they make the decision where our children go. They either go to St. Joseph or some white home down here or way up north, and when he comes back, his head been so screwed around, he don't even walk and talk like you no more. He don't say what's up, y'all, and yo. He talking about, Jesus Christ, buddy, cut the crap. He ain't walking no more hard, he walking all funny now. You know that walk. And you heard that talk. You gunky you. Weirdo. That's what they do to us in this state. So of course we came together as leadership wanting and demanding change for our people. If any other people were in the condition that we're in this state, it would be an emergency for the state. When it happened on the Iron Range, the governor declared an emergency. All the money and resources and the people went there and fixed the problem. We are 50-some% unemployed. Native Americans are 0.5% of our population. They're 60-some% unemployed. And guess what? is such an Indian state, it's named Minnesota. I live in Minneapolis. The gas company is Minnegasco. Lake Minnetonka. My wife said that. You know what I'm saying? And they ain't got nothing from it. And then you have the audacity to walk into my state and ain't asked us nothing. First of all, you want to trash all the national leaders. I hope and pray that all of you here that don't know any of our national leaders never say nothing out your mouth about somebody you don't even know. And don't even know what they go through. You know, I had to apologize as a man to Jesse Jackson in Chicago. I don't know if Fred remembers that. At Operation Push. I've demanded and pushed and fought and made him come to speak to 5,000 gang members. And that part was right. But then I tried to ostracize him for the things he wasn't doing. And I was hostile about it. Matter of fact, I can say openly, I made you cry, and I'm sorry about it to this day, but I cleaned it up. And we cool, right, man? Yep. And I'm gonna tell you why I cleaned it up. This is what that brother said to me. And when you hear me, you'll understand his stupidity. He said, Brother Spike, when I catch a cab to the airport, don't no black people come and pay for it. See, when I walk in and get my airplane ticket, don't no black people pay for it. When I land in the next city, don't no black people pay for it. When I get to the hotel to stay all night, don't no black people pay for it. And when I get up in the morning to eat my meal, don't no black people pay for it. But they want to demand and push little Jesse around that you do what I say do and don't want to pay for your own movement. Yeah, I apologize.
Don't fight.
And I ain't never gonna allow nobody to knock those black leaders, here or otherwise, and you ain't paid for nothing they do. But you're throwing dirt. His woman. In 1956, he used to get high. Don't pay for nothing. And you're so busy trying to find somebody else's sins, you can't even see yours. The second part that really made me mad. She tried to allude to the fact that Jerry McAfee was making statements about leading kids into violence. I'll tell you why that hurt me. He was a very, very young man when Bobby Joe Champion brought him to me. He said, I think I got what you're looking for, Spike. Because Bobby Joe knew I had been looking for a young preacher to groom because it takes a spiritual man to lead anything that's going to be successful. Anything that black people do, regardless of what we do, if it ain't God rooted, we're not going to win. He gave me an opportunity to speak to this young man, and he was doing all right. He had a nice living, he had a nice car, he had a nice house, he still dressed well, he still looks good. I said, brother, I'm making a soldier out of you. I sat him down, I talked to him, I said, you with this? He said, yeah. And I've been in the groove to be and put him on the front line. Now you talking in front of me about you make sure, brother, you be up front when you start. Well, let me tell you about this brother. And he's my witness. When I started United for Peace, my whole mission was to make them brothers put them guns down and stop shooting and killing each other all across America. I wasn't concerned with just Minnesota. I dragged that brother with me to every single city and state where I went. When I went to LA, it took more than a week because there are so many leaders in every part of that city that we had to get in and out of that van all day, every day to make sure we hit every leader. Now we had some help because Jim Brown already had his hands on several of his brothers, so I went directly to Jim Brown's house and got them brothers to take me to those leaders. You know who went with me? I had to tell him one day while we were eating, because I had never told him. I said, you know something, brother, I drag you everywhere. And you ain't never thought once that I'm taking you in harm's way. We don't know which brother gonna shoot us, which brother gonna disagree and shoot us. And he knows one day a brother 200-some pounds jumped up in the middle of the meeting, ran down the table and dove at me. And I slammed him on the table, in the room, in the meeting. Looked like a turkey with his legs upside down. Then he ran. And disrespect. The leader man alone. We went from city to city, state to state, in the alleys, in the park, in the dark, to get to the brothers. I'm the only brother I know that has sat down with all 12 families at any meeting. I don't even know no white folks have done it. I went to Chicago to do it, to guarantee, because if you don't have the leadership, you can't get the population. And let me tell you people something. When I sit down in that Red Lobster with all them brothers, representing them 12 families, I was looking at men 55 and 60-some years old that believed in that the way them brothers believed in the sororities and fraternities last night. And I had to convince them to join us. We had to go into the Green Street. We had to go into Augsburg Gardens. We had to walk that street with them brothers and drag them out by the thousands, and we dragged them out by the thousands. We did the same thing in Cleveland, the same thing in Kansas City. We had to work the neighborhood in Kansas City because the bloodbath was going on the very day we got there. You remember that, McAfee? The very day we got there, they were still gunning up each other. And we brought the very brothers firing the shot to the table. Don't tell me about leading nothing. Time after time, that brother and myself and others in between two factions getting it on now. Disarming brothers, and none of us had a gun. And I take that back because Jerry's sneaky. Everybody had a gun, son. I ain't had no gun. Jerry fooled you. See, Jerry said, yeah, God with me, Spike, but you know. Jerry's sneaky like that. He shot me, what are you doing? Pistol so big his drawers are falling down. I'm getting back home, I don't know what you do. Well, my point is that it takes courage to do what I asked of this man. It took courage of all the brothers and sisters that follow me across America. Think about it now. We came from little Minneapolis and led the charge in making gangs quit. We came out of here. United Peace came out of here. The Gang Summit came out of here. I went into Minister Farrakhan's home and asked him to come to the Gang Summit. Rap Brown spoke to the children. Dick Gregory spoke to the children. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis paid for it for me. A great work. There was no way I could sit in that audience and you gonna try to talk like somebody ain't got no heart. He's shorter than most of you in this room, but if I tell him you get them two, I got those two, he got them. North Memorial Hospital. Every time they shot a brother. Every time they tore that hospital up. Who they call, Jerry?
Me and you.
We call Jerry. What do we have to do, Jerry?
Get up 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning.
And break them brothers down.
That's right.
I couldn't handle that. See, y'all sleeping. We got blood all over our clothes. See, we're in that emergency room. You know what pain looks like? When Jerry McAfee and Spike Moss are side by side, and we're looking down at a young kid who's dead, and his eyes are wide open, looking for the world, and he's dead. And both eyes is open. Don't want to leave. You know what else is pain? You know him, Jerry? Yeah. You know him, Spike? Yeah. You know his people? Yeah. In 1997, I was asked to come to a funeral and speak. And I fought it real, real hard. The family knew me. They was leaning on me, pressured. Finally, I caved in and I went. And I said to the audience, this particular funeral is the 100th child's funeral that I spoke at. I did not want to make 100 children's funeral. I know that I'm going to say this in his presence. It angered me because 99% of the time, Not only was Jerry by my side, he was so strong. But I remember the day when it started getting to it. I remember the tears. I remember his fist balled up. And I remember him saying, no more. So y'all excuse me for last night. But we're not going to be insulted about paying no dues for our people. See, these are the brothers that go into prison with me. I've been in prisons all over this country. And you know what? Everybody in there looks like y'all sitting right here. I was telling some brothers yesterday when I went to New Jersey. They flew me in from Saturday to Saturday. I spoke in 4 prisons a day from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night. I would step out into the white van and drive me to the next prison. There was 24,240 black men in prison. 15 to 25 years of age, 25 years to life sentence. 24,240 black youth life changed forever. The county jail had more men in jail than we had in prison. They had 4,000 men looking like y'all in here in prison. And then when I went to the Department of Corrections to meet the head of the Department of Corrections, on about the 4th or the 5th day they took me there, and I looked up over the prison and it said the New Jersey Entrepreneur Department of Corrections. Made a business of inhumane treatment to my people. I was supposed to talk about politics and economics. And the young lady said, what do you want for a title? And I said, make sure you put in front of it unfinished business. Economics and politics with black Americans is unfinished business. The lady made another mistake last night. She criticized the way the leaders are going about what they do. I want to say this to you young people. After 30-some years of service to my people, I would be satisfied with whatever you want to do for my people. You ain't got to do what she does, she ain't got to do what she does. I just be satisfied with whatever you want to do for my people. See, I was the one considered the militant. In the 80s, I became activist. Never explain what I'm acting out for. Never explain what I'm militant about. But always searching for new titles and labels to keep you from knowing that I'm a soldier in my people's army and I struggle for freedom and liberation. I am a freedom fighter. I don't need you to define me. The issue is freedom. But I need to send you off like this word will taint him and make you not allow him to even come in your presence. Because I dare to say, black men deserve to be free too. Well, when I say the business ain't taken care of, I say this all the time, and I'm going to say it again. Since you are the only Americans that are born in this nation, and not born Americans with all the rights that come with citizenship, it's unfinished business. And you're stupid enough to constantly tell people, ain't I got rights? With unfinished business. You have laws. Pass it on and teach your people. You have what is known as the great civil rights laws. You don't have the right as a white man and a white woman to go to a restaurant, to vote, to live where you want, to have a job. You have a law that says you can. Now I'm going to ask you intelligent, educated, on the way to agree people, how did the laws come about? What did the white man have to do to enact them laws?
Sign a piece of paper.
And then do what over the piece of paper? Somebody help me out. Votes! Votes! Now guess who was the majority who voted for those laws? Who? Oh, y'all didn't even say that loud enough. You scared of them? Who?
White men.
Back down in Mississippi, getting ready to get spanked or something. White people! Yeah, if I was doing a rap song, they'd holler. No here, no side. But I said white people. White people?
White folk.
Who?
White folk.
White people. Listen, y'all. The same way they voted to give it to you? What'd you say? Now there's some fool in the room, anti-black, you say it right now, he crazy. Well, they raised their hand, you ain't got no affirmative action. Oh, they raised their hand over there in Milwaukee, you ain't got no welfare. Oh, they raised their hand, you ain't got no 10% suicide no more. Oh, they about to raise their hand on everything you got in the 50s and kick you the hell back there.
That's right.
Sister even told me that one time I made a mistake in a beauty shop. Yeah, that's something else too. Because they all messed up, you know. I said, you know what he's gonna do next? This was about 5 years ago. I said, you know what he's gonna do next? And I'll just say this, the lady's name was Ann, I ain't gonna say her last name. You know what he's gonna do next? No, what he's gonna do, Spike? So he's gonna take away welfare. And jump straight up. Spike wants, I read everything you wrote. I've seen you on TV. I've heard a lot of your speeches. I believe in you, but you're gonna snap. White man ain't about to take no money from us and our babies and put us in the street and have us cold. I can't wait to see hands so I can snap. There is a mean, beastly spirit.
That's right.
Full of devilment that walks across this land in the hells of North America. It is so mean and so deadly that all it wants is your death.
That's right.
All it wants is your death. Slavery wasn't enough. Tearing your families apart wasn't enough. Taking away the money that you should have made wasn't enough. Keeping you from land and homes wasn't enough. Keeping you down out of business wasn't enough. Once you dead.
That's right.
I said to some young people not too long ago when I go through downtown Minneapolis and you look up in the sky and there's the IDS in his damn name. Woolworths, Sears, Davis, Targets. You go to Lake Minnetonka, he got his name all over boats. He got his name on everything, streets and parks. He got money where you can't even see it. You can't even count it, it's so big. He's in the best part of the country living. He lives high on the hog. He got the best clothes, everything you can imagine. But guess what is the one thing he wants from you that he does not have? He wants your dignity. And he proves it every day because out of all that he has, the one thing he wants from you, when he bends down in your face and he's saying, Brother Buster, Brother Jerry, Brother Obie, Obie? Why can't you people let me call a nigger? I just need the use of that word that degrades them without getting hit. Reverend Matthew, why can't I call you a nigga and you not get mad? I just need to be able to say it. Look, dude, you own the university. But I need nigga, I need the word nigga. You never say nigga. You niggas get so you get to say He now wants your humanity. So what does he do? He makes sure that the artist that he wants to promote, when you don't take care of your business, is the artist that said the bitch is a hoe and she better have my dough, I'm gonna kill that nigga dead on the floor. And he's gonna play it 24 hours a day and got you talking about, that's hip hop, and I ain't gonna have nobody taking hip hop. So you hip hop your behind straight outside. Yo, bitch, come here a minute. Oh, bitch, fuck you, stupid bitch. Downtown in Minneapolis. You know where that? Nigga, you don't get no bigger than working on your humanity. BET. Shaking butt, taking off clothes, popping coochie, singing about, giving it up, turning it loose. After you get all in the groove and all in the mood, then Tavis comes on in a serious conversation. Like they really care about us. You just degraded all our women and made our young girls think this is all right. Listen, I bear witness when it happened in our generation. I had children. Our generation was called free love. Didn't have to pay no dues, just be a man and stand there. Now you want to know how we got in this trouble? Babies born not out of love.
That's right. Come on. That's right.
See? Oh, they want to look at this and look at that. If you ain't got no family structure with a man and a woman that are structured that can give direction and purpose and morals, understanding, and spiritual guidance to a child, anything can enter his life.
That's right. That's right.
So if you that mama that don't call Charlie Charlie because you too busy calling motherfuckers, yeah, she's gonna call his teacher motherfucker. If you that mama that brings a different dude in every night to get yours on, every week to get yours on, every month to get yours on, and this is daddy, and this is uncle, and this is cousin, and this is my brother, your daughter's gonna bring them in. It's gonna be on. There's a rite of passage that a young man must go through. And no man there to take him through. He's looking and searching. He's lost and he's making mistakes. And then we want to ridicule and criticize over all that we didn't do for him. You understand? I love that presentation. But the reason y'all don't know how to do what he's saying, we weren't there to teach you.
Come on, say it.
We didn't teach you. You know, Phyllis Weedy told us, day one, you're going to charm class. Man, we wanted to fight. But they made it a black child go to charm class, learn etiquette, learn how to eat with your hand on your lap. Then I say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, ma'am, no, sir. All of the correct, take your hat off in the building. They put it through. You got a generation that ain't learning nothing, and then we want to beat them up about what they don't know. That's right. And I'm saying that, sure, you women need to be treated like that, but we need to be treated like men so we know how to treat you like that. But when you're born not out of love, selfishness, that's what it is when you make a decision to have a baby knowing I ain't gonna be there with you, I ain't gonna be your husband, I ain't even your boyfriend, you just having sex. What about the third person? See, we can beat up on everybody else, but we don't beat up on ourselves and get that out of the way and fix that and stop saying, oh, you did it, no, you did it, no, we did it. See, we was all about us, you was all about I don't care. The only thing is, you got to see. And it's a major responsibility.
That's right.
To feed, to clothe, to house, to cure, to safety, to teach, to guide, to pain, to cry, to lose sleep, to wonder if ever someone will come to help me. That decision we can't afford. So when you ask the question about where the young man went wrong, it's where our families went wrong. Unfinished business. Unfinished business would be finished when I can finally look at my flowers as flowers and make sure I want to pick one. When I can finally look at my flowers and say, I want baby by the house be her husband, I want to take care of her the rest of my life. You see, the issue of white women wouldn't exist if in a structured family, a black woman had enough nerve and courage in the middle of her nurturing to tell her child the truth. You are my son. I'm not having it. Let me tell you, dude, you're going to respect mom just like I did. You're going to respect me, a black woman, just like I respect my mama, and give them the right values and understanding about black women, and let them know it ain't all going to be perfect. There's going to be some rocky road, but that's your woman. Make him understand and don't give him a choice. Boy, don't let me come down to that college and find you out of pocket. See, we need that mama from yesterday. I'm not in the middle of next week. We need her back. We need her back to step to you when you're out of pocket and check you. So, don't argue about what you haven't done, women. Check them boys. Challenge them boys. And if that dude's daddy ain't there, you better get your brother, your uncle, your grandfather, somebody, and challenge that boy. If you don't like what you see, it's simple. Here's the line, and here's the weed. Leave the weed unattended. No line, just weed. And how does weed grow? Wow. Is that our child unattended? Wow. Is that our child unattended? Yeah. Little Johnny woke up today. He's 5 years old. He's all excited. It's his first day to school. His mother calls him. He gets up. She takes him to the bathroom. She brushes his teeth and washes his face and gives him a bath. Combs his hair, puts him in brand new clothes. A little while later, they walk out the door and they stand on the corner in the middle of the dark in the cold, frozen Minnesota and wait on the school bus. And he's all excited. He comes back home and he jumps off the bus and he got a little picture he drew that day and he wants to give it to his mama and tell her all about what he did, and he's so excited. As time goes by, little Johnny hears a voice. Get up, Johnny. Little Johnny gets up and comes in the room, and ain't nobody there. Mama's in the bedroom with the door closed. Get yourself dressed and get ready for school. Little Johnny's only 5 years old. I'm not so sure he knows to change his underwear. I'm not so sure he remembers how to wash his face. I'm not so sure he knows how to set the tub, pour the water, how to take the bath. I'm not so sure he can make that cereal without spilling that milk and sugar all over the countertop. I'm not so sure he won't even break the bowl. I'm not so sure he knows when to go out the door. Little Johnny, grab that key on that chain on the TV and put it around your neck so you can let yourself in when you get back. I'm only five, y'all. I'm on the corner, it's pitch black. I walk through the drug dealers, I walk through the prostitutes, I walk through the murderers and the thugs and the hustlers, and I'm waiting on the corner, y'all, 5 years old in the dark, in the frozen cold of Minnesota, and nobody cares. And I go to school and I got an attitude and I'm being disruptive, and they put me in the closet and they talking crazy and trying to call my mama. And I go back home and I knock on the door and nobody answers the door and I forget that I got a key around my neck. I let myself in. And I open the door and I holler out, Mama. It's total silence. Mama. I walk in. I'm only 5 years old. It's scary in here. It's starting to get dark again. Where's my mama? I'm ready to eat. I'm ready to go to sleep. I need to see my mama. And years go by. He grows up like a wild weed. And he got some of his little wild weed buddies in the house. And they're making all kinds of noise, acting a fool. And she's in the bed with her new lover. And she hollers out the door. Little Johnny! He's 16 now. Y'all cut all that noise out there. I'm trying to sleep in here. You better shut the fuck up, bitch. I pay for this rent. I'm the one that got you that welfare check to stay there with that nigga in there. Shut the fuck up. lost Johnny. You lost a daughter, she's in the same thing. We paid for that in my generation. Free love. So don't let them undress you and make that type of person out of you again, where people can take liberties of your body who don't want you, who don't want to keep you, who don't desire and admire you. Cut it out. If they can't treat you like a decent human being, cut it out. You ain't gaining nothing from being another statistic. And you ain't gaining nothing from being a whore. You just guaranteeing that you'll be lonely. Now that's sad, y'all, but look around at all the 30 and 40-year-old women and 50-year-old women that are going through life without a normal, healthy relationship with black males, and you'll agree with me. There must be change, unfinished business. You got to come together as a family before you can do anything. And everybody makes it clear you got to fall in love with yourself before you can do anything. And when you fall in love, you can then find your lover who's in love with themselves, and you can build that reunion for your child, where the child receives the love from the two people who are in love with one another tonight. Without it, it's a guarantee that you will continue to fill the prisons. You will continue to fill the ranks of all the gangs. You will continue to be the drug addicts. You will continue to go out the world backwards and die at early ages. Unfinished business. The first thing I need to do once I declare that I am a human being is get my American rights. Take care of the unfinished business. I was watching our national leaders the other day, and they were on C-SPAN getting down about police brutality finally. I mean, they brought it hard, talking about taking the money and everything else if they don't stop killing our people. And a thought came to me, and I said, I'm going to say this for Jerry Massey when we get to Mankato. I said, if my people don't decide to do something about police who shoot black girls sleeping in cars 16 times, who fired 42 times, how many times they fired, but hit that man 19 times, who beat Rodney King like a piece of wild dog, who ran a plunger out of their sexual fantasy and freakiness of a brother's record. If my people don't deal with that, this is what I said, Brother Jerry. I'm going to shave my head bald. I'm going to build me a nest downstairs in the basement of my house. I'm going to start flapping my wings. And I'm going down to the Hennepin County Courthouse, Jerry. And I'm going to change my driver's license from black to Eagle. Look how quiet y'all got. He lost his mind again. I'm going to change my standing from human, from black, from all this mess to Eagle. Y'all with me? When Spike becomes an eagle, white folks can't beat me without consequences. When Spike becomes an eagle, white folks can't shoot me without consequences and fines and going to jail. When Spike becomes an eagle, you can't kill me. You're going to prison. When I become an eagle, I'm going to fly from New York to LA and ain't got to ask white folks nothing. Permission to land or nothing. When I become an eagle, I can stop and eat wherever I want. I ain't worried about white folks, Jerry, discriminating against me. When I become an eagle, I ain't got to worry about discrimination. And I said that to insult you. Because guess what that eagle got we ain't got? Protection under. Oh my God. I'm going to change my driver's license to. I'm going to change it to what? I said it to insult you. Because that is your reality. That ever since the 70s, they got smart. They watching us in our Klan uniforms. They're watching us in the Nazi Party. They're watching us as skinheads. If we become the police, we can legally beat the out of them. We can legally kill them. And guess what they did across this country? And so what do we see on the news now? Not only being murdered, we're now being slaughtered. Huh? Used to be just murder. Now we want to empty the whole clip. Hell, nigga, die, nigga, can't stand it, nigga, watch your ears, nigga, don't come back, nigga, don't run, nigga. Say, well, Mr. Johnson, why did you shoot him 22 times? The nigger was scooting across the floor. You see, you understand, I told him to stay still. He continued to try to get away. He was crawling. And go to a court and get it thrown out.
Yep, that's right.
Because the same person that took his uniform off to go in the police department took it off to sit on a bench called judge. And he got the same attitude towards you.
That's right.
So when Dayton's lost his right to build in the city of Minneapolis simply because they discriminated against black people, and the Civil Rights Department won the case and denied them access, the judge took off his cape for a minute and became one of the Marion race boys and let Dayton's build targets in downtown Minneapolis without respecting our rights. That's the day unfinished business. When you don't take care of the business that protects you as a citizen in this land and allows you to be free in this land, you will experience anything that I might bring up. Code 4. Code 4. The first year that Jerry and I looked into it, they had broken over 5,000 homes and found 2 pieces of crack cocaine. And I think it was 3 arrests. But all those black homes were destroyed, property was destroyed, animals were shot, children were terrorized and traumatized forever because of all the guns in their face and men running through the house and dragging their mamas without clothes outside in the snow. We got the wrong house. You didn't have no rights. Yeah, you got unfinished business.
That's right.
When we talk about politics, that's another thing she said pissed me off. Everybody that know me know I don't believe in the Democrats or the Republicans. Common sense will tell y'all that's in school, pick up the book and read. Both parties have been president. Both parties have allowed you to remain in your position. Oh, no. Our party used to be Republican before we were Democrats. It don't matter what name a white man uses to oppress you, it's still oppression.
That's right.
Jackson himself said, so I might help some of you young people. I am a conservative Republican. That's what they are. Then how do you come out your mouth and say you reform? If you say conservative, somebody tell me, what does the word conservative mean? What do you want when you say you're conservative? Somebody. You want more of what? More of the same. Republicans only represent one faction of America, one part of America, wealthy. He acknowledged that. Then they say, well, we were looking for change, and the other 2 weren't offering change, and he was offering change. You must be out of your mind if you didn't hear that babbling fool on every TV show talking about, I ain't promising nothing for nothing to nobody, and I ain't doing that. He never stuttered. He didn't address nothing. And then you got black people running around here who watch wrestling. I was shocked that y'all watch wrestling. I said, no, we ain't fell down to that. How you gonna be the real hero of the world watching a counterfeit sport? A bunch of fools in pantyhose thinking like you can stomp on somebody's throat and break their throat and then get up and fight you some more. Hit you in the back of the head with a steel chair and you want more. I said, no, not my brothers. If my brothers is into that, then they need to be running around in Superman outfits. Hey, believing they can fly like him. But they say that was the excuse that was used. He never promise you anything. But what was unsaid is what's going to be done to you. Unfinished business. If you work on your economics, you don't worry about discrimination no more. If you work on your economics, you don't worry about the denial of opportunity no more because you build your own factories, you hire your own people, you create your own economic base to take care of your own community. And we move from being a neighborhood and finally become a community. I said it 3 years ago. Stop lying about this is a community. A community's heart is the bank. The blood of the heart is the money pumped through the community to create the businesses that you will survive from. If you don't have all that it takes, hospitals, banks, schools, police, tax base, then you have a neighborhood. Get you a U-Haul trailer so you can move again next month. You don't have no community. Build you a community. Build you an economic base. Unfinished business. I know I'm running out of time, right? Let me wrap it up.
I don't want you to, but I'm just trying to keep it going.
Well, it's like that. I got more of my people here. No, it's time! It's time! St. Paul! I knew y'all was in here with me. Let me say this. It's very, very simple to see what I'm saying to y'all. Put everything in the right priority. Everything. Don't go out and buy you a brand new Cadillac for $42,000. Put a wheel on the back and a chrome front end, some spokes, some bow tires, gas it up and wax it, and pull up in front of your house. You ain't got a couch. You got a TV with a hanger in it. You got nothing in the refrigerator. You're getting ready to go to McDonald's to get your dinner. Get your priorities in order. Don't take what is known in the community as a hoopty. $200, $150 car. Put a $7,000 paint job on it blind. Put gold all over it. An $8,000 stereo set so loud that the chrome is jumping off the counter. If you're going to be that stupid, put a neon sign on the trunk, arrest me, I sell dope. Get over with. Get your priorities in order. We can't make it in this madness. We got to see our madness for what it is. Don't call people selling dope high rollers. He's a merchant. The merchandise he's selling is deadly. He's a merchant of death. Be real so you can be real and save your people. Priority. That's the last thing I'm going to say is this, and I'm out of here. I don't really mean that. I don't want to be Louis Farrakhan. Sister said this. Young people talking to the old people. Young babies, boys and girls between the ages of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Trying to make sure we hear them. And she said this. She said, I wish. Oh Lord, I wish I was a crack pipe that mama holds so tight at night and rocks and shows so much love and joy and never puts it down. I wish I was a crack pipe. I wish I was a bottle of gin that daddy holds in his hand like his best friend and says it never lets him down and always keeps it around. I wish I was a lottery ticket that daddy got in his upper pocket that he keeps with him both day and night and watches over it like he already won. I wish I was a Cadillac he keeps outside the house so
shiny and new and clean and ride around so proud, showing the world what he's done for himself. I wish I was Daddy's Caroline. I wish. I wish I was a block in North and South Minneapolis and St. Paul, where Daddy goes every day to hang with his friends, just kicking it live on the reel. Can't wait to get there. It's such a thrill. Might not come back for 3 or 4 days. I'd be with my daddy every way. I wish I was a bag of marijuana that they roll like they're just so excited, so glad to have it. And can't wait to touch it in his lips. I wish he'd just kiss me like they kiss marijuana both day and night. I wish I was the soap operas that my mother rushes to the living room to see. And if she misses, she turns on the recorder because she don't want to miss it. She likes it so much. I wish my mama would miss me like that and be glad to see me. I wish. I wish. I wish.
Thank you for the slide. This 23 announcement. And there's going to be another concurrent.
This is not about African. The act is hatred, it's self-hatred. And why do we have self-hatred? Why do we spend so much money relaxing our hair? We're scared of our hair, our Africanness. When we run away from our Africanness, we ran away from our Africanness. When my sister was introducing me, she went, Tamara, Tardim. All right, well, listen. Part of the reason why she did this, I'm not trying to beat up on the sister, is because she's not familiar with the language. Part of it is also we have an inbuilt African phobia, Afrophobia. It's a sickness. We're scared of our Africanness. So what happens to an Ethiopian when he stays here? I've been here for 27 years, and my name is going to be Tamra all the way to my grave. Are you listening to me? It will go from my cradle to my grave because I love my Ethiopian name. I love my Ethiopianness, and I love my African. I love my Africanness. There's nothing wrong with my Africanness. But every day we're told to hate ourselves. So I can tell you, if I walk the streets right now, if I walk the streets of Minneapolis, I can tell an Ethiopian who came yesterday and an Ethiopian who's been here for 20 years. Because most Ethiopians who've been here for 20 years have an American name. Because you get made fun of enough times, you create an American name. I knew a brother, for example, whose name was Muhammad. They made fun of him enough times, he called himself Max. So all of us developed these American names, Anglicized names, because we're pushed to hate ourselves and we're pushed to move away. So it's not only being US born that you get destroyed. This propaganda of poison, white supremacy, toxification I'm talking about, that happens to you all over the world. Because US imperialism, white supremacy reaches every corner of this earth. So you have CNN cheering people in every part of the world. The poorest part of the world is cheering CNN. Because we've been brainwashed, I remember growing up in a theater when I was as a young man in Ethiopia, being in a theater, a movie theater, and we see John Wayne swaggering, you know, and he'll get on his horse, and he'll be riding along, galloping along by the mountains, and then of course those savage Indians will be sneaking down those mountains, those savage Indians will be sneaking down the mountain. You know how savage they are, right? And the entire theater, that's what I mean by poisoning, white supremacist poisoning. It's happening to us globally. The entire theater starts clapping and saying to John Wayne, they're going to get you, they're going to get you. Everybody's telling John Wayne, they don't speak even the language. But even people that don't speak the language in the theater, people who don't speak English, they're trying to tell John Wayne, they're going to get you, those savages. They have us identifying ourselves so much with the enemy, more than the enemy loves himself, as Malcolm used to say. We're so toxified. That's why we have to understand our brain. Part of our brain is a toxic dump site. White supremacist toxic dump site. They dump all the crap in us, and we don't even know. We breathe. It's like automatic pilot. We act self-hate. We breathe self-hate. We're trying to run away. By the way, John Wayne, of course, the white supremacist myth, John Wayne, Mr. Badass, John Wayne, Mr. Badass, will pick up his pistol and shoot one bullet and kill 10 Indians. You know, the white supremacist propaganda they tell us, like Jesse Ventura and his so-called military stuff. I'm so sick of that cracker, that Peckerwood. Isn't that stupid? If me about qualification anymore. After Maury Anderson, who's our chancellor, who didn't even go through a search, who does not have a terminal degree, I don't want to hear anybody or any white person telling me about qualification. Jesse Ventura, a dropout, when you are a dropout and you are white, it becomes an asset. He drops out of college. Think about it. He's our governor, but he's dropped out of college. Now, if I was going to run for governor, well, we heard that he dropped out of college. He was part of a motorcycle gang. You see how sick white supremacy is? Everything that's white is precious. Everything that's not white is not. We are always under a question mark, how many degrees you've got. And I'm going to hear this person telling me about qualifications. Who is qualified and who's not qualified. In any event, so that as John Wayne, going back, see, I'm an African and I'm going to tell this story, jump through the pavement, and I'll go up the hills and go into the ditch and then get on the freeway. So you're going to have to follow this. This is African pedagogy. African pedagogy is a storytelling. It's not linear. It's not Eurocentric. It's not, oh, I'm Dr. So. No, none of that. Not in my class. People who've been in my class know how my class goes. In any event, so here's what happens. As John Wayne takes one pistol and shoots one bullet and kills 10 people, as John Wayne does that, guess what? With one bullet, the entire auditorium claps. African people clapping for John Wayne for the genocide of American Indians. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
We are educated poison every day. What we're getting is not education and emancipation. We're getting poison. That's what we're getting. Toxic dump site. External locus of control. Well, if he is white and he said so, then it must be true. Ethiopia, one of the African countries, it has been told that was never directly colonized, thanks to the courageous African people, Ethiopian people, men and women who fought, who don't get the coverage as much as Haile, the good old emperor, used to get. Many unknown Ethiopians who fought and died to defend the independence of Ethiopia. But even in Ethiopia, first of all, what has happened because of the poison is we have ethnic chauvinism within Ethiopia, where black people are oppressing black people. That's part of the poison I'm talking about. 21st century emancipation has to deal with all dimensions of white supremacy. One of the dimensions of white supremacy is the replication of that sickness towards our own. In this country, it manifests itself through colorism, light skin versus dark skin. That white supremacy comes in, and so in Africa, it comes with ethno-chauvinism. Amharas being better people than Tigrayans. Tigrayans being better, killing each other. Ethnic supremacy. Hutus killing Tutsis. Killing each other. So we have duplicated that poison. That's what we have to understand what I'm talking about. So in any event, why we need to understand what is going on in terms of the propaganda and our mind. And part of what happens when our mind is controlled. If we want to talk about the political ethics of the 21st century, the ethics of Pan-Afrikanism, emancipatory Pan-Africanism, we have to also understand why it is that when this part of your brain is controlled, when you operate from this part of your brain, let me tell you what happens when you operate from this part of your brain. Your control is not yours. You do what they tell you. I don't have children, I have 2 cats. And they get spoiled often. One of them at 4 o'clock in the morning just comes and sits on my face, just to have fun. So, I love my cats. I don't even let them out of the house. I'm very tender about my cats. They eat better, they get better health care, all right, than I do. But one of my cats eats a lot. I'm sure as I'm talking to you right now, he's in his bowl eating. It gets to him so good. It gets so good to him. He sits sideways, and he's what I've never seen a cat that poses and eats at the same time. He's a cool dude, man. Eating just I'm sure that's what he's doing right now as I'm talking to you, eating. So what does that mean? He has high metabolism. He goes through the litter box. I'm sure tonight it's going to be piled up. It's almost like two destinations he knows. The football, the litter box, football, litter box. So what do? Every other day I've got to go and get a big pile of one of the largest garbage bags from the grocery store. So I go to the grocery store because if you don't get it out and clean up, the house will get so funky. You're not even going to be able to enter my house. So I've got to stay on top of it. So I go to the grocery store. One day I'm tired after teaching. I've been teaching at St. Cloud State for 10 years. And one day I'm tired, so I'm coming home, and as soon as I come home, I get this nasty smell. I said, my God, I can't go to bed without cleaning this stuff. So I get in my car, go to the Rainbow store by my house, go to the aisle where they have garbage bags, like a zombie. You know, like do you remember the Thriller album? Where, you know, the Michael Jackson Thriller album? Well, we should all remember because, you know, they put it in our head. Boom, boom, even if we don't want it, it's in there. Anyway, so, subconsciously, we internalize this stuff. So, you remember that scene where you had all these people coming out of the grave and walking like this, boom, 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 boom. You know, you remember that scene? Where they just walk like out of the grave? Anyway, just like that kind of zombie, because of using the passive part of my brain, I went to the aisle where they had the garbage bag, and I picked bags, 2 boxes of them, hefty boxes, put them in my cart, went and paid for them, put it in my car. And then as I'm turning my engine, I looked at it and I said, I picked the hefty bag. You know why? Because just like I'm brainwashed to hate myself, just like I'm toxified to hate my blackness, I'm also brainwashed to buy hefty. So that tape, as I'm going to that, why do you think they spend billions of dollars? That's what I'm saying. Emancipation has to begin with us understanding how our brain is poisoned. It's poisoned, deeply poisoned. That's why I brought this stuff to explain to you the cognition, the cognitive dimensions of our domination, how we are oppressed. So in any event, as I am doing this, I said to myself, my God, that hefty, wimpy tape must have been playing, you know? Without even me going, hefty, wimpy, hefty, wimpy, and I get it, like a zombie, went back. Right after the most fascistic death that happened in Europe, and in fact it happened all over the world, they just, because of racism, they invisibilized the millions of Africans that died as a result of fascism. You know, Hitler was not the only person, there were about 4 or 5 fascist fronts, and you know, Hitler, Mussolini, Franco, I mean, there were many fronts, the fascist fronts, and our people died all over Africa, Ethiopia, Eritrea, the whole area was wiped out. People heroically resisting fascism. In any event, here is what happens. Isn't that wonderful as you're just getting into it and then you lose your friend after that must be getting old. No, you know. But in any event, I'll get to where I wanted to go. It's wonderful when you get going. The point I was trying to make is this. The point I'm trying to make is just like that zombie. This part of our brain makes us a zombie, just like it made me a zombie to go and buy the hefty bag without even thinking. After the fascist, the defeat of fascist Germany, in the city of Nuremberg, they had a trial. And at that trial, they had an international tribunal, and the soldiers were being brought in, and they were being asked, why did you do it? And their answer was, most of them, what? Anybody want to say?
They told us to.
Exactly, we're following orders. Bum, 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 bum. I go and get this. But see, this is banal. The other thing is deadly. You see, this part of our brain is a killer. This is the part of the brain that is used for a black man to shoot another black man. We are killing each other because this is the part of the brain. We're an automatic pilot. We don't need white people to kill black people anymore. Just like we don't need white people to vote to destroy our affirmative action. We have a black man, the ringleader. Man, if I was Walt Connolly, I would probably slice myself out. You know what I want to do? I've said this before. We need a psychiatric help for those people who are doing that. Those black men or women who are going around destroying our struggle, destroying our freedom, as Spike was talking about. I wasn't here yesterday. People who are belittling and undermining our community, and yet they are black. And just as in the continent of Africa, people that have been pushing the division of ethnicity, the hatred, the arrogance of one ethnicity over the other. I'm a Kikuyu, therefore I'm a Kenyan. No, you're not a Kenyan. You are one of the many ethnic groups in Kenya. I'm an Amhara, therefore I'm an Ethiopian, and that's the only language that should be privileged. Nonsense! 70 other languages exist in Ethiopia. You're one of the many languages in Ethiopia. And if you want to be an Ethiopian, you've got to love and understand all those oppressed communities and be able to develop a loving community of that's reinvention. That's what we're talking about. Self-reinvention. That's what we're talking about. We have to reinvent ourselves. Black emancipation in the 21st century cannot happen if we don't reinvent ourselves. Are you following me? Black emancipation deals with soul detoxification. The soul has to be detoxified from this poison. We have saturated poison. Imagine a nuclear waste. In fact, it's happening all over our communities. It's interesting. Ecological racism, how it works. In every community where there's nuclear waste being dumped, You have an American Indian community. In North Minneapolis, you don't think the incinerator in Minneapolis was put by North Minneapolis by accident. They didn't put it there. They were not planning to put it in Wayzata. They were not planning to put it in any of the other white suburbs. They knew where they were going to put it, and they were going to put it in North Minneapolis. Because you know why? All the nuclear waste that's being stored in this country is by American Indian communities. So that's what we're talking about, how white supremacy works. The same nuclear waste, I'm using that metaphor, is in our head. Right? The same nuclear waste. We fear each other. We call each other names. We allow each other to be isolated from each other. When Spike was here, that's why I wish he was here. I wanted them to be here because we work together. And he comes to my campus, I work with him. I've worked with him for many years. My relationship with Spike has been one of a struggle. He has been there for me many times. When Spike was talking about people being labeled militant, extreme, that's how they want you to silence me. And you know, when I'm silenced, when I put a label on this sister, when the prefix, that label itself is psychological conditioning, which I'm talking about, the conditioning. So that way what I'm saying is, usually when they tell you, you know what my rule is? When a white power structure tells me somebody is no good, when the US government says that government X is no good, I go the extra mile to learn about government X. Because they must be doing something good. Most of the governments that the US government hates are the ones that are doing good for their community. Because the US government, look at this. You go to every part of this country where people of color are, they're suffering. We're catching hell. In 1999, we're suffering. Our people are catching hell. And guess what? The US government has the gall to go to tell us that they're going to Somalia to restore hope. And we are silly enough, just like I am silly enough to go and pick the empty bag. We're silly enough to buy that bullshit, excuse my language. We're silly enough to buy it. For the US government to restore hope in Somalia, is like Ted Bundy to run a sexual assault center. Remember who Ted Bundy was? Ted Bundy was a serial killer who raped women. If Ted Bundy runs a sexual assault center, then the US government can restore hope. The US government is not the bastion of hope. The US government, you were not even included in the Constitution. We are free human. You know, those of us continental Africans especially, if this is a Pan-Africanist conference, we have to work together. We have to work together. African people from the continent have to learn about African people here in a serious way so that we can educate each other. African people from here have to respect us, respect and work with us to learn from each other. And I'm talking about in a serious way, not just once a year where we wear dashikis and act African. I'm talking in a serious way. Because just because I wear dashikis, yes, this is a silly European costume. I didn't do my laundry, that's why you've got it. I tell the people in my class, when I have this on, either I didn't do my laundry or I'm going to a dangerous place. And that's one part of my shield, where I have to deal with some peckerwood who has power. Some crazy ass sick white who has power. I've got to deal with him, so I'll put this on. Otherwise, I don't put this on. Usually, I don't feel comfortable with this silly ass costume. But you know something, we've got to learn about Africanness beyond our costumes. You've got to understand Africa is a complicated place. Black people are complicated people. But our humanity has been taken away from us. It has been taken away from us, our humanity. So when you see me, I'm a caricature. I'm not even a human being to you. And you know how that caricature gets produced? That caricature gets produced through that filter of the brain, that poison. So when a brother speaks to you, oh, he's emotional. I'm sure some of you are saying, oh God, this guy's so emotional. How can we even understand what he's saying? He's so emotional. And that's a European in you talking. It's not even you that's talking. That's the white man in you that's talking. But do you know that every one of us are carrying big, heavy, poisonous white men on us? Sometimes I feel heavy that I have to carry this white man in my head. It's that white man that makes me hate my brother, my Asian brother, that makes me not want to learn about him. It's that white man that makes me hate myself and my people. I am an educated person. I'm not like one of those brothers on the street. Of course, after all, I have a PhD. Jesus Christ. We have more PhDs, dime a dozen right now. We have more PhDs who are Africans, and Africa has never been poorer. Africa is catching hell. Being an African is worse than being a dog. And if an African gets killed on the street right now, freezes to death, there wouldn't be as much coverage as if there was a dog that froze to death. And there wouldn't be an outrage. The mayor wouldn't be pounding the table saying, how could this happen in our city? 42 bullets. African immigrants, especially I want to talk to Africans who are not from here, because we delude ourselves. You may say, well, this guy must be bitter. I'm not bitter. I'm telling you as I see it. I live, for myself, I live comfortable. I get paid, believe it or not, they hated to do it, but I get paid. They try to fire me, they try to deport me many times. I'm still here. That's another thing, by the way, brothers and sisters. Dare to struggle, dare to win. Kowtowing, tap dancing, and this stuff doesn't work. The white man doesn't respect you when you do that. The people in power don't respect you when you do that. You know what, I don't want love from the people who hate me. They don't need to love me. But I want them to shake when my name is mentioned. And I want them to wonder, God, what is that nigger going to do next? Because it's one of those wild eyed ones. Because part of the poison, part of the poison is one of the things. We've got to be like our fathers and mothers. I remember in Ethiopia, our fathers and mothers who went up against the tanks. Mechanized army, one of the first mechanized army attacked Ethiopia. The fascists. And those people had to be crazy and had to be wild-eyed to fight that white supremacist garbage and say, you can kill us by the millions, but we're going to stand up. It's not about my life. It's not about who I am. It's about our strength. The strength that's dissipated because we are colonized. We are scared of our freedom. We are scared of our strength. And that's what I'm talking about. Our strength is dissipated on a consistent basis. And that's what I'm talking about. That's why if we want to develop 21st century ethics, we're going to have to detoxify our brain. Let me go quickly and I'll go to the next part. First, admit I am toxified. It's just like admitting I'm alcoholic. The first thing we've got to admit, don't pretend I wear the right clothes, I speak the right African language, and I hang out at the right African restaurant, and I eat African food, therefore I'm an African. No. You are toxified, admit it. Because whether you know it or not, passively, without even you knowing it, we breathe. Everything we breathe is hate, self-hate, and African. So admit, like an alcoholic has to admit, I am toxified.
I am toxified.
Let me hear you say,
I am toxified.
Okay, and our liberation is then dependent on our detoxification. And it's a lifetime process. That toxification makes us hate our sisters, disrespect them. That toxification makes us hate each other. So we need to understand that. And then the next thing is to recognize that our control has been taken away from us. That toxicity makes you dependent on others. So we wait every night till 6 o'clock comes or 5:30 or whenever the silly white control media comes out to tell us what the reality is in the world. So we find out about the world, and that brother is there are sisters in here and brothers that have been my lifeline. My sister knew, my brother there, because I'm losing my mind, I'm losing your name, man. Leroy. How could I forget Leroy? He's always nurtured me. He's my teacher. And there's another brother who I've never seen from a long time. So there are people in this room that are my lifeline, that help me deal with the poison. Nuru has loved me and nurtured me for many years. And you know something? When we have poison, sometimes we don't even have time for each other. I'm always besieged when I come here. I just came back from a big fight. We had a meeting with our president because there's a racist attack. Racist professors in a Plight department at our university are attacking students and faculty of color. So every time I'm fighting the battle, so I come here, I don't even have time to love the people that I love enough. But in any event, that's the fight that's being black in the United States in 1999. Because we're dealing with constant war. In any event, give back our control. Don't let them judge me. Don't allow them to get in your head to a point where they're telling you who I am. We need to develop healthy relationship with each other. Self-love. So whenever CBS, ABC, NBC comes in, CBS, concentrated BS. ABC, advanced bullcrap. NBC, nauseating bullcrap. White supremacists, by the way, I have to put prefixes. Whenever they come on, I turn it off. Yeah. I investigate my news from other sources, from the communities. We can investigate from our own communities. Because what we get from there is external control, not our control. We control, we worship the people in power. Well, Governor Ventura, how can anybody come into a state after black people have been fighting so many battles to get to get any action, any of the things any of the benefits we are enjoying was fought for tooth and nail? How can you come to a state and tell us how great Government Ventura is at the Pan-Afrikan conference? I wasn't there. I heard that's what happened last night. If that is unfair characterization on my part, I apologize, because but I'm sure something like that must have happened, because I have a great judgment. I have great faith in what my brothers tell me, because I've trusted them and they've been there for me with life. It's ridiculous for me to come to a Pan-Africanist conference and glorify Jesse, cracker, gangster, caboose bouncer. That's how it is, you know those caboose bouncers. I have been here for 27 years. You go to a racist bar, you see a caboose bouncer, after 2 pictures of the beer, he slurs his words, he doesn't have a sentence, he's a victim of intellectual drive-by shooting. That's what Jesse Ventura is. Jesse Ventura is a victim of intellectual drive-by shooting. Jesse Ventura should sue his school. Because let me say definitive. Can you imagine a black person who can barely finish a sentence? Can you imagine a black person who can barely finish a sentence being the governor? Who does not even know how to construct a sentence, who fumbles and bumbles? And then, can you imagine that black person being found out that they dropped out of school, and that is seen as an asset because they're white? Can you imagine a black person running for the governor, and then you know what the media will say? Well, sir, are you really qualified, ma'am? We hear that you dropped out of college. We hear you're part of a motorcycle gang. Can you imagine? They would go to church with that, wouldn't they? Every day, they would go back to find the darkest picture was you on your motorcycle with the gang. And then they'll say, 1925, his mother used to smoke dope. Before it was even known. I mean, they put us on a petri dish like an insect, on a microscope, and they will look at us. Look at what they did. Look at this picture. And are you going to tell me you're content in being a free person in 1998? Can you imagine the outrage that this police officer would have faced if that living thing, I wouldn't even call it because we're not treated like human. I'm calling them living thing because that's how they see us. But they would not even get the respect of a living thing. Can you imagine if a police officer posed for a picture like this one is, and over a dog or a cat with their foot on the cross? There would be an outrage. The Humane Society, white domain, would call. The police officer would be fired. We're not even as good as a living thing. Forget about being human. We're not human. And then you bring in the immigrant factor, the African immigrant factor. Oh my gosh, it gets nastier. I am an alien. And then when you stay long enough right now, so then you become a citizen, you become naturalized. We are aliens. Let me see if I have my antenna is still up. God. It took me quite an operation to remove my antenna. I mean, can you imagine being called an alien? No wonder African people from here and African people from other parts of the world cannot communicate. Because you've been told every time that we're aliens. I used to work for the Glenwood Lindale Community Center running a youth program. A black brother, a young kid, came up to me and said, well, do you need my lunch? Because I know you Ethiopians don't have any food. I bet you would want to have my lunch. It's in the middle 80s. In Minnesota. See what's happening to my little brother? He's poisoned. No wonder, one of the things that makes me really get in pain is that the disconnection between Africans from Africa and Africans from here. I was at a program last night talking about Kwame Ture, who just died recently. One of the great brothers, freedom fighters, who tried to develop an old African People's Party. Trying to bring Africa together, of African. Something, it's interesting. We don't do it because we are poisoned. As I said, we carry these huge white races in our head. And we're poisoned. But yet, Europeans have Swedish get-togethers. Europeans get together and get united. You don't see white Scandinavians talking contemptuously about Sweden.
That's right.
They celebrate Sweden. You don't see Norwegians talking contemptuously about Norway. They celebrate Norway. You don't see Norwegians of Norwegian descent making fun of Norwegian accent. And then you have Whoopi Goldberg getting up and saying, I went to South Africa and I have more in common with the white people there. Those Africans are not civilized. I'm an American. Whoopi Goldberg with that African hair and African face, but with a huge white man in her head. Whoopi is carrying this huge poison on her head. That sister needs to get to a detoxification center. We need to build it. To save Africans from white supremacy. We need to build a center. You know, I get angry with these people, but then maybe that's not the reaction. That's the reaction of a freedom fighter in me. I get angry, but maybe that's not what we should do. We should really help them. We should contribute money. I'm willing to donate hundreds of dollars if necessary to just get them that mental health. Because that's what it is, mental sickness, toxification. Dogmatic. We also become lazy. We don't want to learn about each other. So it's perfectly okay for me to ignore all the languages in my country, ignore all the cries of the cultures in my country because I'm lazy. I already know who is an Ethiopian and who doesn't make it and who does, because I've been told who is. So we become zombies. We're lazy. Our mind is lazy and closed. And also, we jump up and down when our government goes and murders other people. 5,000 Iraqi children are dying as I'm talking to you a month. And most of us are not excited about that. They put a uniform on us and tell us, go and kill them. Bam, ba-dum, bam, 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 ba-dum, bam, bam, bam. USA, #1. Fool. You ain't no #1, you're a nigger. That's how they see you. Put a medal on you, but you're a nigger still. That's a slave in you talking. Me killing Afro-Panamanians, Operation Just Cause. See how they play with our head? Operation Just Cause. Who would be against any just cause, you know?
Just because they're black.
Exactly. Thank you. 4,000 Afro-Panamanians were murdered. 4,000. Most of them, you can look at the area of devastation in Panama and you will see the color getting darker. Most of the area that was devastated by, they basically tested the latest weapons from Pentagon. That's what they did. Oh, I produced me a laser artifact here. Gee, I wonder where we can go, which nigger country we can test it on. Oh, I tell you what, why don't we give it to the, our boys in uniform and maybe they can try it in South Central LA. And then, well, of course, we do have those black militants, so we have to worry about that. So, I tell you what, why don't we take it somewhere out of place and out of sight, some alien. And the blacks here don't get as excited about the other parts of the world because we've disconnected them very well. So let's go and bomb Grenada. And then if we wave the flag and tell them you're one of the patriots and give them a medal, they'll get excited and they won't forget that it's black people that have died. I don't want to be a general, so some of you think I'm jealous and I'm bitter and I'm saying, but for me, the generals that I worship are Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, I.W. Wells, all right? Angela Davis in the recent time, because she's a freedom fighter. The freedom fighters that have paid with their dues. And in Minneapolis, Spike is my general. All right? So are people like McAfee, people who are freedom fighters, sisters that I know. Nellie Stone Jones was fought for many years to get people the right to go to school. They are my generals. Not some four-star general. I don't get excited when everybody was pushing Colin Powell on me. I've made a decision on Colin Powell a long time ago. All I have to do is watch his career. How did you build your career? Vietnam? They don't look, anybody that's going to bomb a Vietnamese will bomb you in a minute. Anybody that hates a Chinese person will bomb you in a minute. Anybody that hates a Japanese person will bomb you in a minute. I know in Japan there is racism, and they probably don't think I'm equal to them, but that's fine. It's not fine. Let me backstage. It's not fine. I will challenge the Japanese who's a racist to me, but I'll also defend the Japanese right to be a human being. And when they started Japan bashing, they told us, they started messing with our head. They told us, this is my car, Ford is my car, and Ford is my truck, and it's made in the U.S. This is my country, and Ford is my truck, dun, 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 and all that nonsense. And we find out 40% of Mazda is owned, 40% of Ford is owned by Mazda. Now, what did they do? Ayakoka, that racist Japan hater, told us to hate the Japanese. What did they do with Chrysler? Guess who owns Chrysler right now? Anybody know?
Mercedes?
Yeah, Mercedes, Daimler Benz. They don't have us hating the Germans, do they? See how racism works, how white supremacy works? They wanted us to hate the Japanese. But now, nobody talks about Germans owning a U.S. corporation. No, you don't see, kill the Japanese, get rid of the get rid of the German on bumper stickers. But World War II, who did they put in a concentration camp? The Japanese, not the Germans. So, we need to recognize that this part of our brain is our main enemy in the 21st century. We have to constantly fight this part of our brain because it turns us into a zombie, it makes us subservient, it makes us slaves, it makes us hate our people, it makes us murder our people, it makes us mercenaries, it makes us pathetic, it makes us uncreative, it makes us dummies who want to self-efface, spending millions of dollars on skin lightener and getting cancer as a result of that. You know, I love Michael Jackson's music. Since I was a kid, I love the Jackson music. Brilliant, a genius, musical genius. But Michael right now looks like a walking mannequin. You can't even tell what he is anymore. I mean, he has done so many surgeries on his face and his skin, he looks like a walking mannequin. What is the message that makes an African hate their hair, their face, their nose, their beautiful nose, their lips? That's a African beauty, African humanity is constantly reduced to nothing. Africans are constantly seen as an asset on the negative ledger, not on the positive. So part of what I'm talking about is self-love and detoxification. So, to do that, I don't lose hope. You may think because I'm talking about this with emotion that I'm depressed and that I don't have a good life and I'm unhappy. No, I'm a very happy person because I know we will liberate ourselves. I know we will. And I know we have a part of our brain that can liberate ourselves. And that applies to everybody, including the white persons in this room, to everybody, because if we have that poison in our head, you are carrying it big time throughout your body. So if you are a decent white person who hates white supremacy, and there are decent white people who hate white supremacy, you need to spend full-time detox. I mean, full-time. We need to be at a detox center, but you need to be there for a long time. I'm telling you. Because being white means being really highly poisoned. Being white is dependent on the hate of other people. Being white is about one-upmanship. Being white means she cannot be on the same place as I am. My whiteness is dependent in this society on her inferiority. That's what it's dependent on. So that's the reason, as a white person, you have to detoxify and clean and clean and clean, and it's never even enough. And the most beautiful white people that I've seen, and I've come across some beautiful white people. One brother jumped in I would have been dead if you had seen me. I was at a march against the Klan, and this fascist, Ku Klux Klaner, had a lead pipe and swung at me, and if he had hit me with that, I would have been finished. You wouldn't have even known me. And this white brother jumped in, and it just touched him. The guy missed him. If he had hit him, the whole thing, you wouldn't have been alive to see. It just touched him, and there was a huge hole on his head, and the blood started gushing out. Now, that white brother did what he can to clean himself. I think that is practicing what you preach. If John Brown was a brother, John Brown was a brother, much more of a brother than any Colin Powell. Because it's not a skin thing, it's about putting your life on the line to fight white supremacy. So a white person, Viola Luizzo, was a sister. Viola Luizzo was much more a sister than some of the sisters who were dogging brothers on the lecture circuit, who's being paid by the man. If I want to make big money, and if I want to pack every big hall in this country and be on every TV station, all I have to say is, just like Dinesh D'Souza from India. Yep. Dinesh D'Souza comes from India. He hasn't even been there long enough here to put his suitcase in the closet, and he's already an expert on black people. So he writes a book saying black people are inferior. He's on MV. He's a hot item. Dinesh, I bet you he's making $10,000 a lecture. Selling hate, white supremacist hate. I would be a hot item and a hot ticket. Of course, I won't have my soul, but I'll have the money, and I'll be driving the latest Beamer. What Beamer? That's nothing. I'll be driving even, the Ferrari, and living off the hog. But at what expense? By selling out people. And that has happened also to Africa. They gave us the flag and say you're independent. Most of our leaders are not independent. Most of our leaders cannot go to the bathroom without calling the IMF. They've got to call the IMF and the World Bank and Slick Billy or the other pricks my language. The other crackers who control Brussels, England, Frankfurt. Most of our leaders are controlled by remote control from Frankfurt. At one time even Russia. Even though Russia right now has a colonized person, Russia has been surrendered to the United States. So Russia is a colony now. Russia is not a power. But our leaders, whether flag, just because you have a flag does not mean you are free. If this is not free, you're going to be in the pocket of white imperialism. And that's what we're dealing with. In the 21st century, we've got to deal with that. So the first thing we've got to do is sharpen our quality control so that slide doesn't come. So that we have to remove that toxic. We've got to stop being the toxic dump site. We've got to say to them, no, you will not put this dump, you will not put this poison in my head. I rebel. We're going to have to go after the drive-by, intellectual drive-by shooters. We've got to stop them because intellectual drive-by shooting preceded black people drive-by shooting. In order for a black person to pick up a gun and shoot another brother without even thinking about it, he has to have been intellectually shot. Are you following me?
Yes.
So intellectual drive-by shooting preceded actual shooting of black people because once that black man once I look at that beautiful brother in the back or that beautiful brother here, brother, and call him a nigger, and I'm going to waste you, nigger. Some of the hatred has gotten so bad, they're not even calling people niggers anymore. It's nigger. You know, I mean, it's like the contempt. When I hear rap music and some of the hatred that they put in it, and rap was a revolutionary act. Rap was a revolutionary act, but you don't fear the revolutionary dimension. Now the millionaires are the ones that hate black people and that hate black women. So when you do that and make money, and then what you're producing is not yourself. You are a remote controlled zombie. You're producing hate for the man. That's what you are. You're a receptacle of poison. So the first thing we've got to do is control the sludge that's in our head. Detoxify. Build detectors. Ooh, this sounds sick. Danger, white supremacists, interveners, pollution, danger. So you've got to have detectors. Nah. He hates you. Afrophobic, damn. That kind of antenna has to be built, and it can be built when we communicate. This is why we should be building it. If this conference is supposed to have a meaning, we have to build it here. We have to build that antidote against that poison. We have to develop that detoxification process here. This should be the place. If it's not going to be just a ritual. When people go to church as a ritual too. But then the same people go to lynching picnic in the afternoon. Onward, Christian soldiers, marching us to a war. With the cross of Jesus going on before. What kind of garbage is that? Emancipation is not about Jesus being used to be pimped for war. Conditioning, brothers and sisters. We will not be free until we see how we have been worked on psychologically. In God we trust. What has money got to do with God? But you see, it's equivalence. You create a false equivalence and you create a conditioning. It's called psychology 101 will show you that this is called operant conditioning. You condition the person to associate money with something good, something high, something lofty, something high, something we should look up to. Then we turn around and kill each other for it, as zombies. We kill each other for it. The detoxification of our soul. By the way, our soul, see, it's not like the European thing where everything is compartmentalized. Our soul includes our emotion and our mind. In Amharic, I'm not trying to push only one language, that's one of the many languages. It's called Lebona. Lebona doesn't include only the heart, it includes also the mind. But it's a combination, it's a dialectical fusion of the two. Human beings are holistic. We have a holistic genealogy. We are holistic, we're not partitioned. When they partition you, when they dissect you, when they pull you to pieces, they're destroying you. Are you following me? And to regain our whole, we have to detoxify. We have to gain our control. We've got to say, this is garbage. Take it where you need to take it. There is a garbage can. But you're not going to practice intellectual malpractice on me. You intellectual quack. White supremacist quack. Quit put your white supremacist quackery in that garbage can. Don't damage my mind. That's what's happening right now. I just came from a meeting a day ago. We're at 7 o'clock in the morning. We sat into the president's office. He didn't want to have a meeting, but we made it happen. By the way, that's another thing. This part of your brain makes you realize how much power you've got. The other part of your brain will say, oh man, we've got to be nice to the president. Why don't we? And there were people in the meeting that were saying that, why don't we send him a letter and see if he'll respond? And I said, and some of the people scared. Black people get scared of black people who stand up, you know that? We get scared of our freedom. So I said, no. Why are we going to be writing a letter that he's not going to answer? We will sit in his office and wait for him. After all, it's a public office, isn't it? Our tax money. I've been here for 27 years, so my tax money pays his salary. Is that the truth? So I sat down with a group of faculty members, and we waited for the president. And his Peckerwood ass came in, looking all pale. Pale. Who are these niggers? He sat down, of course, tight. He brought in a lawyer. He sat down and talked to us. You know what the battle is about? Racism in a department. They're using books that are backdated. See, the reason why we don't have liberation, why young people are confused, is because they're still using books that don't belong in the university. Or, you know, we fought like crazy to be included in the school, but we fought really in a way, it's really weird. We fought to get in and get damaged. You know, we won one of the battles, which is to be able to get in the door, but then the next thing that happens is they take our children, okay, you won that battle. See, one thing about Charlie is slick. Chuck, I call him. Chuck. Mr. Charlie. Peckerwood, the plantation owner, because the plantation is alive. He's slick. Chuck will let you in. If you win, he'll move back. Chuck is not, see, some of us are crazy. We have so much ego. So, we don't think. So sometimes when we shouldn't be fighting, instead of stepping back and getting ready, our ego gets in the way and we want to fight and get killed. But Chuck is slick. If you win one battle, he will give it to you. And he's plotting on the way to get it back. And that's what Chuck has done from 1960 to 1990. Chuck has gotten back everything he can from where we went. So we're allowed in the schools. So, okay, you come in. Good, now I've got the niggers in the schools. I'll put up with that, that's okay. First of all, slowly I'll send messages to tell every white person to get out of the schools. So that we go back to the segregation that we started with. So there's white flight. Whites are running out of those schools at record numbers. So it doesn't matter. We have the rules. We have all the rules and the law that says no segregation. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll write that. I'll write all the nice rules. But I'll send a message for the white people to get out of there. So the white people leave. And if they're not, if the black people who come in or the people of color that come in, that's fine. The message is I'll damage propaganda, white supremacist propaganda. So you damage the white person. You produce white people who are black. You understand what I'm saying? You produce white people. There are days when I sit and I pinch myself. Am I talking to a brother? Because it's like I'm having a hard time explaining it to him. Now, most of my class I teach for 10 years. Most of the people in my class are white people. Okay? Which is sad. So when I see a sister like her, it's like winning a lottery. I know the brother, when I see him, I get excited in the hallway. I hug him to death. He's a student, a graduate student at St. Cloud State. Every time we see each other, I hug him to death. You know, right? He knows that. We grab each other and I hug him and hold him because we don't have too many of us there. So in my class, when I see my people, I'm excited. But guess what? Sometimes this is what makes me sad. I can reach those white students about these issues, and yet I have black people who went to school and got PhDs who look at me like I've lost my mind. And they'll look at you, they'll denigrate you, they'll just try to put you down, they'll try to act like you're not even speaking the same language as yourself. Savage. The reason why that is because of what has happened to our brains. By the way, getting a PhD is not about emancipation. Don't confuse the two. It's about getting a ticket. And most of the PhDs that I know are enslaved people. Martin Luther King did not become a freedom fighter because he had a PhD. It so happened he got a PhD, but he was a freedom fighter before he was a PhD. And most PhDs were not out at the lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina. Most PhDs were not out fighting white supremacy in its dirtiest and ugliest form in the streets of Minneapolis. They were too busy hiding in the library. So I don't have any pride in having that stupid piece of paper. The only reason that I have it is because they were about to lynch me, and people in this room know that. And that's why I got it. And I have no pride in that. That's not what I have a pride in. My pride is knowing who I am as a black man. And being with you. Getting back my control. Getting back my control and working with the system so that we can both have our controls as a community. My pride is not, I would do this if I got fired from St. Cloud. So long as the Pan-Africanist conference organizers recognize me as a person, if tomorrow they said we're stripping you of every degree and you're no longer, you're null and void, which the white people are good at doing, by the way. O.J. Simpson found that out. Yeah. Well, boy, white people are good at stripping you down. One day you're a superstar and the next day you are nothing. You're worse than a dog. So it doesn't matter whether you're found guilty, not guilty, it doesn't matter. Once they strip you down, and they did that to Paul Robeson. Brilliant musician, brilliant opera singer, brilliant student, brilliant lawyer. He had the Midas touch. Everything he touched turned into gold. Running out of the country. He used to fill every opera hall in the world. Did Othello like nobody did. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. You know what his mistake was? He was a free black man. As I told you, just because you have a degree doesn't mean you're free. Your freedom has to be cultivated by you and by us. So, he was a free black man. He said, I am not going to run around acting like I'm a major star for white America when they are degrading my people. So when segregation is up, when a black man cannot even sit in the same toilet as a white man, a white woman. So he said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to play that. I'm going to stand up and confront white supremacy wherever it is. They ran him out of the country. Took away his citizenship. They tried to crush him. They didn't, but they did try. They took away everything. And part of community building is, when that happens, why I love Spike, why I love McAfee, whenever I was under attack, they were always there for me, and I will always be there for you. We need to develop a community. We need to develop a community where we protect each other. Let me tell you, my love, you saw me a little unhappy earlier because I didn't think I was going to be able to talk to you. Everything was falling apart. And I'm sorry for getting angry, but you see, we don't get a chance to talk to each other. The people who talk to you usually are people who are either poisoned or your enemy. They get every TV station. I don't get every TV station, and you don't get every TV station to talk to me. So we are separated from each other repeatedly. So quality control is an important part. Getting back your control is an important part. No to the poison. Let's say it together. No to the poison.
No to the poison.
No to the poison.
No to the poison.
Yep. I want to be free. No to the poison.
I want to be free. No to the poison.
I want to be free. No to the poison.
I want to be free. No to the poison.
I want to be free. No to the poison.
I want to be free. No to the poison.
I want to be free. No to the poison.
I want to be free. No to the poison.
And we've got to keep reminding ourselves that because if we are not going to say no to the poison, the poison seeps in. It seeps in an ugly way. Sometimes it seeps in by osmosis. We almost have, there are days when I come home at the end of the day, after feeling that hostility, I come home and I watch myself. I take an intellectual shower. I listen to Paul Robeson's music. I listen to the poetry of freedom fighters. I read some of the readings that Langston Hughes, I have a tape of Langston Hughes. I try to detoxify, take an intellectual shower. Get my slime off me. I listen to the guerrilla movement music, all right? I came from people many of whom were guerrilla fighters in my own family. I don't know if my voice will stand up, but I'll sing a song for you that guerrilla fighters used to sing in Ethiopia. But in any event, so I come from that kind of background, so I sing the freedom songs. I listen to freedom music. I try to clean myself. It's like taking a shower. You have to slime. It's like the whole day. I start off beautiful, loving myself as a black man, saying, oh, you're beautiful. Not because I am, but because I come from a community that's beautiful. See, that's another thing they did to us psychologically. They separated the we from an I. We're not like an I and a we people. Anybody can tell you if you go to Africa, I grew up eating from the same table, it's the same thing. There's no, here's my little fork, and here's my little knife. Now this is my food, and this is your food, and now you stay in this spot. That's European shit. That's another thing, European shit. Or shall I call it intellectually? European excrement. I don't know that intellectual parlance. That's European nonsense. We grew up sharing food. Me feeding her, her feeding me. When we ate from the same plate, we fed each other. We would say, come on, eat from my hand. People beg you, people get offended the way I grew up. You have to eat from their hand. A sign of love, it's an extension. There's no I there and we here, and there's all the separation. That's part of the mental damage. We are victims of intellectual drive-by shooting. Understand that intellectual violence, and that it has done it to us. So, how can a brother or sister see a sister down here and walk like she doesn't even exist? How can Smalley and Louise get murdered in their home? Two senior citizens in the middle of 1980s in Minneapolis, North Minneapolis. The same pigs, some of the same pigs that you saw here. They didn't do this. This didn't come out of Wayzata. This is North Minneapolis, where the police come in and do what they do. You see this picture here? It didn't come up. The same police officers were standing at the door as the house was being burnt to a crisp with two senior citizens in it. How many of you knew about this? See, that's another thing, memory erasure. The memory does not get told. Tyson Nelson, shot in the back, 13-year-old black male. And we are told that he was carrying a gun and that he was threatening people. A lie. But you see, the truth, we are our lifeline. She is my lifeline by telling the truth. She's my lifeline. But when she's like eating, when she can share that truth and feed me, and I can feed her, we feed each other, then we have possibilities for emancipation. Otherwise, we will not be emancipated. We'll be isolated. We'll be dissected. We'll be dissected in pieces. That's what's happening. That's what's happening, brothers and sisters. We are dissected in pieces. There is the little Ethiopian corner. Then from Ethiopia, divided into 10,000 dissections. There's the little African corner. Hey, there's this corner, there's that corner. We are dissected into little pieces. And once you dissect people into pieces, then they are disempowered, they are powerless, because the we and the I has to be fused together. And only from there do you get the help, the mental emancipation. And we don't get that. The stories get forgotten. How could we forget that? Liberal Minnesota, last time I came to speak, which was 2 years ago, Liberal Minnesota, I told people that one of my dreams in my life is to write a book called The Minnesota Lie. I do want to write that book. When I say this thing to you, I don't BS you. I'm serious about what I'm saying. We need to write that book. And white people who are decent in this room, white people who care about white supremacy, because white supremacy is not about you. It's about an unhealthy thing. White supremacy should be as much a burden on you as it is on us. White people who want to detoxify from this stuff have to also stand up with me and want to produce a chapter to put it in my book about the Minnesota life. Because let me tell you, white people are the best judges of white supremacy if they want to admit it. The alcoholic is the best judge of how much damage. Once she admits or he admits he's an alcoholic, she or he is the best judge of how their body is damaged. Because if you smoke, if you use crack and you are on crack, you have what you do to others, of course they feel it, because you're going to be doing things to other people. That's the fallout effect. But you're the one whose body is getting damaged. You're the one who's lost control. So once you start to realize that you've lost control, that your body is getting damaged, and you're being used as a vessel by the demon, which is what white supremacy is, and that the demon is using you as a zombie, and that you don't have agency. Agency means self-control, self-love, independence. You don't have any of that agency, and your agency has been stripped, and you are nothing but a robot, you're nothing but a mannequin. Once you know that, then you can say to yourself, I will not be a mannequin for white supremacy. I will not be an agent for white supremacy. I will regain my freedom. I will regain my humanity. The same way as a person who uses crack would say that. It's about the poison. And that's the reason why white people who know directly how that poison has impacted their society and their community and how it's impacting us can be the best allies once they are liberated. You see, I'm not a skin person. I'm not into skin. I don't judge people only by skin. Here's why. It's not because I want to make white people comfortable. Some Minnesotans will come up to me and say, you know, you Africans are different from those African Americans. Anytime somebody tells anybody in this room from the continent, anytime some white person tells you that he or she are the worst racists on earth, stay the heck away from them. Because they're messing with you. Because as soon as you are out of the room, they'll tell the black American, you are like us. You're not like them Africans. You're an American. So a divide and rule. It's a racist, vicious crap. Stay away from that racism. So when anybody who's foolish enough to tell me that, usually gets a handful of information from me. I mean, they will never come back to the same room unless they're willing to say they're ready. Is that a sign that says I'm supposed to finish soon?
Well, it's about 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock is the dinner down at the food center.
Okay, well, I'll need another 10 minutes at least, and then I'll go. If people want to go, they can go. But I have to wind up what I'm trying to do. So, low faith in challenging, you know, if you develop this part of your brain, you're going to have absolutely low faith in what they tell you, the status quo. So when they turn the TV on and they tell me they're going to go and get bomb country X because it's terrorists, I say, oh gosh, the US, the racists are up to it again. And I will go and study about country X and Y. Let me tell you this, Saddam Hussein, who do you think trained Saddam Hussein? The CIA. Noriega, I have a picture of George Bush and Noriega kissing each other. And we are stupid enough because they wave that stupid flag in front of us as black people to jump up and down and defend the United States government when it's murdering our Afro-Panamanians. So every time they tell you this is the way it is, and the status quo, that's the time you go the other way. So when they tell me Z, I say why? I know because every time the people they have hated are people who have actually been about good. And the people that they love are usually the murderers. Mobutu Sese Seko, always decked out in the best African garb. Oh, that brother used to dress. Woo! I mean, it's the best African dress. You know, Zaire and Congolese, beautiful outfit, where he carries a beautiful cane. And always decked out with African stuff. So if we were to judge it superficially, you would think he's a true African. He was one of the most African-hating people that lived on the continent. We're still suffering because of him. That entire area is embroiled in murder. Millions of Angolans, Zairians, Congolese, that whole area is still dying as I'm talking to you. Right now, the CIA, the death machine that he has created, now is hooked